I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. It's a lovely Labor Day here in the Northwest, and I hope that you're enjoying the holiday. You know, this day marks the unofficial end of summer, so we're going to cover several issues around that in the next 30 minutes. They'll include the opening of the school year, stubborn homeless camps along school walking paths, a look at how the town of Detroit, a favorite summer destination, is coming back 2 years after the devastating fires there, and a question of what you enjoyed most about this past summer. But first, a look to the future. Former Oregon state lawmaker Margaret Carter is calling on the legislature to once again reform bail laws, saying they're too easy on those accused of domestic violence. It's our big story tonight. Margaret Carter is a legend, the first black woman elected to the Oregon legislature, where she served for 22 years, a college counselor for 27 years, former chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon, former CEO of the Urban League of Portland, and I could go on and on and on. Earlier in life, as a single mom with 5 kids, she got a bachelor's degree and then a master's. I want you to know all that because her words carry weight. And now she says Oregon lawmakers need to take another look at the rules involving bail and make it harder for domestic abusers to get out.
Pat, the one thing we know in terms of data is that if a person is a violator of the rights of women, domestic violence, we know if they say they're going to kill you, they're going to try everything they can to get to you in order to kill you, because it's a matter of power. This is not about love, or nothing of that nature. This is about power and control. And that's exactly what created this heinous crime. This young man must have had a lot of insecurities himself and she's tiny, to be able to kill somebody in such a dastardly way.
She's talking about 36-year-old Rachel Abraham, murdered just over a week ago in southeast Portland. Margaret Carter considered her part of the family.
I've been her grandmother ever since she's been here. She called me Grammy up to the time of her departure. She had a rough life, and to know that it ended in this kind of tragedy, just my heart is just broken. Because this young woman really tried hard. She always kept a job. She was always good to people. She was a good mother to her children.
Rachel Abraham's former partner is charged with first and second degree murder in her death. He'd been in jail earlier in the summer, charged with strangling and beating her. And then he got out without paying any bail, only to be arrested again when he took off his ankle GPS monitor and went back to her home. After a hearing, the judge set bail at $20,000. The man's public defender said he couldn't even afford $1,000 and that his bail was way too high. But the judge did not budge. A short time later, an outside group, though, called the Portland Freedom Fund, stepped up and paid the bail amount. And 7 days later, Rachel Abraham was dead. Carter stops short of condemning that group.
That group is intended to do good work. And when you look at what is happening to black and brown people in this country, in this state, the rules are different. And so I imagine that they didn't look at the situation in terms of the kind of people that should be let out, the kind of people that we are going to bail. They should have rules within their own organization. And this is one that should not have been broken.
Now, it's unclear what rules or policies Portland Freedom Fund has in place, if any. They won't return our messages. Investigative reporter Kyla Boshi found the fund has paid out more than $619,000 to bail out black and brown people in the greater Portland area since 2020. This year, Oregon lawmakers changed the bail system. They felt that old system was unfair to the poor. It set a certain amount of dollars for a specific crime. Those who could afford to pay the bail got out. Those who couldn't sat in jail. Under the new system, many people are released with no bail, others with much lower amounts than in the past. Margaret Carter believes lawmakers need to carve out an exemption for people like the man accused of killing Rachel Abraham.
Absolutely. And domestic violence organizations also should be involved, if they were not, in the changing of the rules. Because if a violator say they're going to get you, they're going to get you. And if you let them out of jail, they're going to get you. They have nothing to lose. And the legislature needs to look at the policy around that, and there should be standards for those people who have committed a one-time offense in terms of domestic violence, and depending on the nature of that offense, there should be guidelines that said this person is not eligible for bail.
The man involved here is named Mohammed Adan. He's charged with first and second degree murder in Rachel's death. He's scheduled to be in court tomorrow morning. And if you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence and you're not sure where to turn, here's a resource that you can use. It's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can call 800-799-7233, or you can text the word START, that's S-T-A-R-T, to 88788. The hotline's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's aimed at providing support for victims of domestic violence as well as their family members. Now to the homeless crisis, not here in Portland, but up in Longview, Washington. A few weeks ago, we told you about a massive camp along Alabama Street, causing headaches and problems for businesses and neighbors. You're looking at it now. More than 150 people lived there until the city declared the camp a public health emergency and started clearing it out. But the people there were given a deadline to move their things, and they did not have to go far. Blair Best is in Longview tonight to explain.
For several years, the city allowed homeless people to camp in this fenced lot on city property right here off Alabama Street. But the camp got so big that now they're clearing it, and they're moving the campers to this fenced parking lot and giving them new rules to follow. It's a race to vacate.
Well, it's crunch time for everybody.
JD is one of the homeless people living in this campsite off Alabama Street. The city just told them to remove their tent sites or else they'll be given trespassing warnings.
Well, I was pissed. I mean, I don't want to be here like I said before, but you know, things are the way they are.
He's renting out a storage unit and has until the end of the day to move his things.
The deadline is either get your stuff out or it's going to get scooped up by a dozer.
They want to move us out of where we were into this temporary place so they can clean out.
Julie just finished moving her tent into the new lot right next door.
Well, it's frustrating because tents don't travel well. You're not supposed to be lived in anyways. They take a lot of wear and tear.
The city does not consider homelessness a crime and is cleaning the campsite for health and safety reasons. They're allowing everyone to move into this city-owned parking lot. However, they must keep their tent within a 12 by 12 space, and it's not clear how long they'll be able to stay.
You had to get enrolled in programming, meaning that you can have like community services and stuff. They have to know who you are, and they're counting us.
But Julie says it's just a matter of time before this new site gets as dirty and overcrowded as the last one.
Nothing has changed. It's already starting to become a shit show.
Do you have a plan where you'll go afterwards, or you're just going to stay?
Well, in the interim, while I'm here, I can probably work on that, which is my idea is I need to figure something else out. I can't do this anymore. I can't. I'm tired, and I'm too old for this.
I'm keeping them here till the end of it.
Do you have a plan of where you'll go afterwards?
Oh, nope. Probably jail, but that'll only be for 6 to 8 months.
The people that are homeless here have to go somewhere.
Curtis Jackson has lived in the camp for almost 2 months.
Everyone here is on drugs. I don't care. Every single person in there is on drugs. And so what can you do about that?
It's just sad. You know, that's all I can say. It's sad.
Vern Gilbert has lived in Longview for 15 years and watched the camp grow.
We've been talking about this issue for 20 years, probably longer than that. And here we are, 2022, and I don't see that it's really somebody hasn't stepped up to do more to take care of the problem.
And many feel moving the homeless into a new temporary site isn't the answer.
It's going to stop violence for a little bit. It's going to get things orderly, but what are they going to do with us after that? They're going to have to either move us back or, like you said, kick us out into other people's backyards again.
During this cleanup, the city will try and prevent the homeless from dispersing throughout the community. As for how they'll do that, we reached out to the city for comment, but did not hear back right away. In Longview, Blair Best, KGW News.
Thanks, Blair. Now, in honor of Labor Day, we can't avoid a discussion of unions and Labor Day in general. First, let's start with a historical perspective. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, Oregon was the first in the nation to pass a state law recognizing Labor Day. It happened February 1st, 1887. Way to go, Oregon. Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York followed Oregon that same year. Congress passed the federal law honoring the day 7 years later. The effort began as a group of workers came together to push for things that we take for granted today, things like an 8-hour workday. And full disclosure, I'm a union member. I've been part of SAG-AFTRA for 32 years. In fact, all the reporters and anchors at KGW here are part of the same union. Here's a snapshot of union membership in America brought to us for the year 2021 by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In 2021, the number of workers belonging to unions nationwide fell by 241,000 people compared to the year before. That's a number of 14 million. The union membership rate was 10.3%. Back in 1983, the first year with numbers that we can compare, there were 17.7 million union workers with a membership rate of about 20.1% of the workforce. The union membership rate for people who work in the public sector, things like government, 33.9%, more than 5 times the private sector, which is about 6.1%. The highest unionization rates were among workers in education, training, and library occupations. But things may be improving for unions. The National Labor Relations Board, which is part of the federal government that handles all things union, reports that requests for union elections were up 58% over the first 9 months of the fiscal year in 2022 compared to the year before. And just to scramble our brains, their fiscal year starts in October. No idea why people do that, but they do, so there you go. The NLRB points out unfair labor charges against companies were also up 16% over the same period. Now, against that backdrop, President Biden was out and about today and said support for unions in America is super strong.
Well, I'm encouraging unions. That's what I've been doing from day one. It includes for public service sector workers in Wisconsin as well. Today, support for unions in this country is higher than it's been in nearly 60 years.
Oh, okay. I decided to check in locally and see if that feels accurate here. Dan Clay is president of the United Food and Commercial Workers 555. He represents 30,000 members across 4 states and is headquartered in Portland. His union is trying to unionize 4 different New Seasons stores right now in our area. One in Hillsborough just voted overwhelmingly no. Clay does not think that vote was fair, and he's challenging it. He said his union has added about 10,000 workers over the last 10 years. Good for you. I asked him about the president's comments.
I don't think that's my experience. I think the movement's very much hampered by federal labor law. I think when Biden talks about the movement being stronger than ever, I think the need for the movement to be strong is greater than ever. But with these, but with the laws the way they are, it's a really tough environment to be able to organize, whether that's Starbucks or a New Seasons or Amazon.
So that's interesting. What he's saying is that federal laws, which maybe could be changed by the Democratic president who says he's a friend of labor, those laws make it hard to bring a union into a company. Let's drill down for a moment to hear why.
The process is you have to show that a certain group of people do want the union, and then the employer has 2 or 3 months in many cases to go out and wage war. And that makes it real tough for workers to get to the finish line, because, most people that organize, they aren't people like me that have dedicated my life to the labor movement. They're folks, they want to go to work. They want to make a living. They want to have a roof over their heads for them and their families. And they want to have a life. And they don't want to go out and spend all their time fighting over elections and those kinds of things. And so if you look at the rules are really favoring employers at this point. And until we get a rewrite on some federal law, I think that's how it's going to be.
So I guess sort of a reality check there on this Labor Day. Lots of people apparently support unions if you ask them, but not that many actually take part in them. By the way, I just looked at a recent Gallup poll report that states however one does the calculations, the trend in union membership is down, not up. That reflects what our local union president there, Dan, was saying. You might be hearing more about unions because the spotlight is shining on Starbucks and Amazon and others where workers are trying to unionize. But the facts are the union movement is not growing in America. Happy Labor Day. Still to come on The Story. We're taking you to Marion County in the city of Detroit, destroyed by fire 2 years ago this week.
Everything you're looking at here has been built after the fires. This whole area was just totally decimated.
We're getting an update on recovery efforts from Detroit's mayor. What's been done so far, and how long could it be before things go back to the way they used to be? That's after the break. It was 2 years ago this week that 3 separate wildfires merged in Marion County, fanned by powerful east winds. Flames claimed at least 5 lives, scorched nearly 200,000 acres, and destroyed over 1,500 structures in the Santiam Canyon. That included most of the city of Detroit, where 4 out of every 5 buildings in town were reduced to rubble and ash. Christine Pitawanich visited Detroit and talked with the mayor about recovery efforts to see just how far the city has come since those brutal September days in 2020.
It has been 2 years since wildfire came through the city of Detroit, destroying homes and businesses. Recovery has been slow but steady. Now, we're taking a tour with the mayor of the town to see what progress has been made. And we're starting with the brand new City Hall.
So this is our new Civic Center, which is kind of the cornerstone of the rebuild, the visual cornerstone anyway of the rebuild of Detroit. It'll house our new City Hall. We have 2 bays for fire apparatus from the local fire district.
This brand new building opened up in June, and it'll function as a gathering place for the community as well as the new City Hall after the last one burned. A gym that was part of the old high school that used to stand here is attached to the Civic Center and has been revamped, but championship banners still hang on the walls.
Up there is kind of connection to the past.
Detroit Mayor Jim Trett is proud of how far the city has come, considering the level of destruction that happened here 2 years ago. He says about 80% of the roughly 600 buildings in the town burned, many of them homes, others businesses.
Everything you're looking at here has been built after the fires. This whole area was just totally decimated.
While people are in varying stages of rebuilding, with some lots for sale, homes are going up.
People are telling us it's coming back faster than they usually see.
And like the town, people are starting to come back too.
What you're looking at are one of the two marinas we have in town, and they are basically the economy of the town. This lake is our economic base.
Trett says when people store their boats here and recreate on the lake, they're also more likely to wander into town and grab a bite to eat.
Well, this is our business district that you're looking at.
And along the main street that goes through the small downtown area, food carts are popping up. Thank you.
It's a good business here. A lot of people come here.
That's Susie Penalosa. She owns Susie's Taqueria.
Best tacos, best burritos, best fish tacos, best everything.
And after a fun day outside,
Do you like salsas?
Zach Pickett and his family stopped by.
If you take card, if we can give back, we will, because they were devastated by it. So hopefully they can recover and we can help just by a little bit.
Trett says once the county breaks ground next spring and a new septic system is up and running, more businesses are expected to set up brick and mortar shops here. A new $7 million water treatment system paid for by FEMA is also on the horizon, but the road is long.
We still figure 8 years, maybe a little bit more, for everything to really come back to some semblance of normal. But we're seeing progress every day. Like I say, we'll hit hiccups, but we keep working.
In Detroit, Christine Pitawanich, KGW News.
Thanks, Christine. Some good news up there. With today marking the unofficial end of summer, students across our area are getting ready to head back to class tomorrow. Portland's mayor hoped for an emergency declaration that would help make schools safer by removing homeless camps near school buildings. He issued the declaration, but is the effort working? That's next when the story returns. It's been more than 2 weeks since Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler issued an emergency declaration banning homeless camps near schools and along routes that children take to get to school. But since the mayor's declaration, things have been getting worse outside one school in Northwest Portland. And one person camping there says they're not going anywhere. Blair Best reports.
There are several campsites here along Northwest Hoyt. It's one of the routes to school that the city said campers are no longer allowed on. But as you can see, they're still here. And many tell us they have no plans of leaving anytime soon or anywhere else to go. A green tent sits in protest on the corner of Northwest Hoyt and 19th, near the Metropolitan Learning Center.
I'm just keeping my tent here up for protesting reasons.
It was posted for removal on September 1st, since it's within 150 feet from a school, meaning it's in violation of Mayor Ted Wheeler's new ban on camping near school campuses, which started about 2 weeks ago.
Saying that this is an illegal campsite, and was saying that there are plenty of shelters that you can go to.
But Joseph Riandu would rather stay on the streets than go into a shelter.
I don't feel very safe staying there because some of the people that room there make me and my partner uncomfortable. So we would rather stay in a tent.
They're currently on a wait list for a housing voucher. Until then, they plan to stay on this corner in spite of the city's orders.
I could move my tent today if I wanted to, but it's more of just a moral thing. I want to sit and protest for a few days. I believe that our city and our government should give us more resources.
For other homeless people on this street, they find the ban on camping confusing.
They're telling people to move. They're not banning it. They're just telling people to move from here to here and not giving people nowhere to go.
They keep saying they'll clean it up, and it's still sitting there, all the junk. And I mean, it's been weeks since I walk this 5 times a day.
Michelle Scott lives across the street from the Metropolitan Learning Center. She's now trying to move due to these camps.
They walk around and they pee or poop wherever they want to. They have their pants down. I don't understand how they can have this around children.
She says the campsites have gotten worse since the start of the school year, despite city crews attempting to move them.
They have come through a few times to clear it up, and an hour and a half later we get as many, if not even more.
It's just a huge thing to address.
Heather Begetz frequents the nearby park with her daughter.
How are we humanely addressing it? I think when the city just does sweeps, it's kind of just displacing a lot of people without really addressing the core issue.
Well, I understand it because I know that some people that stay in the streets can be sketchy, and some people do hard drugs. And there are some people that live on the streets that can be sexual predators. So I understand their concern. But people like me who are just trying to find a place to stay until we can get resources.
The city has identified and cleared dozens of campsites near schools, and they say that list will just continue to grow. And if there are repeat campers, they'll just repost the site for removal. In Northwest Portland, Blair Best, KGW News.
That's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. I hope you had an amazing summer. And remember, the story, our story, well, that never ends.